Well, good morning. Good morning. Thanks everybody for joining us on this early, very cold morning. So the only really good thing about doing it on Zoom is that you didn't have to get out in the cold. So that's a win at least. Thanks for joining us and welcome back to our 2022 session. Our partners are on board to continue to support the We Forum this year. So many thanks to them. They include the Chamber, Collider, Ready, Rochester Women's Magazine, and St. Mary's University of Minnesota. So we are grateful for that partnership. We are going to change it up a little bit this year. So I wanted to share that with you before we got started and just give you an idea. And for those of you that don't know, which is probably most all of you, we have a website. And on our website, I've updated the events that will happen. And I really would encourage you to check if they're intended to all be in person, but like this one, sometimes they get moved to Zoom. So of course we have today's session on finding your people, and we're going to jump into that very quickly. The way that we're changing it up this year is we are going to do a panel 1 month, a workshop the next month, and then the third month is going to be a connect. That's going to be a social event. And so the social events will be in the afternoon for people who really have a hard time making this morning time frame. And they will not be a structured program. It will be kind of a welcome, come, connect, get to know other people. And so we are working with some folks to try to bring you maybe some drinks and some food to the location and kind of create that atmosphere. And then we'll go back into a panel event, a workshop, and then a connection event. And the workshops are really designed for you to have an opportunity to kind of work on your own business and some of the things you're thinking about in your career. So the one that we're going to do next month is really if you have a new idea to introduce into your business, maybe you're thinking about adding an e-commerce model, or you're thinking about expanding, or you're thinking about some new way of doing your business. This will be a conversation about how to do that. And that'll be hopefully an in-person workshop at St. Mary's. So I just wanted to share that with you this morning. And then the other thing that we wanted to share with you is that the local high schools are asking for help. So Century, John Marshall, and Mayo High Schools have a small business strategies class that they're hosting, and they're looking for business owners who would be interested in partnering with them so that their students could take on a project. And so they have a small business strategies information session coming up February 9th at 2 different times of the day. And I am going to throw in the chat what they sent out to me so that if anybody is interested in learning more, they could go to one of those 2 sessions. So, all right, just wanted to let folks know those kind of housekeeping things before we get started. So without further ado, I don't think I said it. I'm Christine Beach. Thank you for being here this morning. Welcome to the first We Forum of 2022. We have 3 amazing women with us today to kind of talk about this idea of how you find your own people, those people that are going to support you and help you to grow as a person and not be kind of an impediment, but yet a help. And what does that look like? What does it look like from the perspective of you looking for someone and from someone else's perspective if they are engaged with you? So I am going to ask each of our panelists kind of introduce themselves a little bit and then talk about how you would define your people. Kind of what does that mean to you, the value you have in finding your people? And why don't I kick it off with you, Julie?
Serious pressure, Christine. Good morning. My name is Julie Brock. I am, I don't know, I guess I'm a jack of all trades and master of everything. I mean, let's just own it this morning. Smart, awesome, witty women. My background is in education. I was an English teacher at the high school level for 16 years. And then I did a wonderful stint with the Chamber for a while as the Vice President of Workforce Development and Education. And then my latest gig was with Cradle to Career as their executive director, their first executive director to get the initiative up and off the ground. They're amazing. Please go check them out. And now I'm hanging out in higher ed at Winona State University. I'm actually going to be pursuing my doctorate degree in June, but I get to play with data all day. My data job is really to influence the way that we're preparing teachers as they come into this incredibly important industry that is being rocked and disrupted on every side right now. So I feel very fortunate to be able to have this career pathway that I have. And it is, like we say in Lean In, a little bit of the jungle gym mentality. I like to move around and gain skills that way. So how do I define my people? My value is really, one of my top values is realistic optimism. Like, how can we really look at the world and just give a little bit of hope to humanity that we can get it right. So I need people who are willing to think big, bold, but also at the same time staying grounded in this reality of the now without shooting everything down. And I also need people who will call me on my BS, because I can get very big very quickly, and I need people who don't mind pulling out the dart and popping my bubble here and there. So if I was take all of that, I want people who are authentic, invested, witty, and direct. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, I like it. And I'm kind of trying to grapple with it, but I totally know what you mean when you get too idea centric and somebody says, woo. So that's the convergent, divergent thinking idea. Somebody's got to pull it back together at some point. So yeah. All right, Tawanda, I'm going to ask you to jump in next and kind of give us a little bit about you, what you're doing these days, and then how you define your people, the value you find.
Sure. Oh my goodness, what am I doing these days? A whole lot. So I am Tawanda Burks, owner and operator of LO Cena. I also work full-time at Mayo Clinic as a project manager. Julie, I want to say best of luck on your journey. I just finished all my coursework for my doctorate's program, so I'm ready to be in the field and start my research. So excited about that. That's enough about me, because I can go on and on, but very busy person. So I try to stay grounded. As far as who are my people and how do I find them, I don't actually want to define them, my network really, as people. I want to say my family, really. And I find them, or we make the connection in various ways, either through other family members or through people who think there should be a connection some way, form, or fashion. And all of my family that are the people has to come with diverse backgrounds. For me, because I love to learn, I love to experience, and I love to fail, believe it or not, as well, just so I can grow. So it's very important that my family is very diverse and come with different perspectives on things. And of course, keeping me grounded is very important as well as me being able to do the same to them, because that's what family does. So that's what I look for when I look for people or making that connection with others.
So that's interesting. So Julie kind of looks at it and says, I want people to have these skill sets around me. And you look at it and say, I let people broker introductions and kind of pull the thread to bring people around me. And then I'm looking for them to have a kind of a diversity of thought and capacity. So you've got that nice sweet spot. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Very neat. And congratulations on the coursework. Boy, I know how hard all of that is, you guys.
Glad it's over. Glad it's over.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Allie.
Good morning. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So about me, what's my story? So I'm originally an Iowa native, but I've been in Rochester for about 4.5 years, and I'm a realtor here. I have the best job ever. It's so fun helping friends just find great homes that they can create lives in. So I'm also a mom to 2 little kids, so that kind of runs my schedule as well. When I think about my people, I've been thinking about that a lot, because I'm like, who are my people? Because it took me a long time to find them. And some of them I actually saw are on here this morning. But, I really resonate with strong women. And I don't know how to I mean, I do know how to expand on that, but there's so many amazing women in our community, and you just have to go out and find them, because these strong women, they're always connecting you with other strong women. And then all of a sudden you have everyone just together, like supporting each other. It's amazing. So yes, strong entrepreneurship driven women. I don't mean to exclude men, but it seems like my closest relationships are with a lot of fabulous ladies in our community.
And clearly this is a group for you. So,
Yeah, perfect.
your people, huh? So, and I know what it's like to kind of move to Rochester and try and find people, and that does take some time. So my hat's off to you, and only 4 years and you've got such a group of people that's actively seeking out the right people that are going to connect with you. So well done on that, for sure. And so that kind of brings me to my next question. And I'll just stay with you, Allie, for a second here. So when did you decide to make it a purposeful effort to surround yourself with those people that would help you with your professional and your personal journey? You know, I think we tend, for a while, that just kind of happens. It's the people we're in college with, or it's the people we work with. But then sometimes you get to a point where you say, I'm going to make a conscious effort to surround myself with people who are going to be life-giving. So I kind of feel like you did that. What prompted you? When did you decide to do that?
Yeah, so when I first moved to Rochester, I knew my significant other and my neighbors. That's all that I knew. And I sold real estate in Texas, but come to find out, if you want to stay in the real estate world, you have to know people. When I first transitioned to Rochester, I was in a really rough mind setting. I wasn't in the right game. Thought process, that's a better word for it. And so I actually tried to get a job at the chamber. I went and talked to Titan because my family had a connection to Titan. And I was like, oh, I just need a different job. But then one day, actually, I talked to Kathleen at the chamber, and she was just transitioning in as a president. And she was like, no, we don't have any openings. But that was like the best thing she ever did for me, because then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I have the chamber, go to chamber events and go meet people there. And then I think at the chamber event, then I was connected to one of the ladies who was in Refine, which is a Christian women's networking group. So then, like, all of a sudden my identity of being around these amazing people just really exploded, because I got out of my own way, to be honest. You know, a couple people told me no, and I'm like, I love real estate. Why would I do anything else? I just need to go meet people, and that's my job. And so just from loving my job and then like finally getting connected with people in the community, I really just felt like this is the perfect place for anyone to thrive, because there's so many amazing business people around here.
That makes a lot of sense, right? You had that forcing function almost of coming in and needing to create the network and saying, okay, I got to get myself out there and figure out those people. Thank you. All right, Julie, you seem to know like everybody in town. So how do you sort through to find those people that are going to be helpful and life-giving versus those that are just like, maybe, yes, they're very nice people, but maybe they're not part of your group of people?
Okay, well, so first and foremost, baby, I was born this way. It just is true. I have connectedness in my top 5 strengths. If you are a StrengthsFinder fan, I am. And I also forgot to mention, you know, I have my own business too. My God, like it's been in since November. I'm still trying to be a business person. I'm learning. I'm failing out loud, Tawanda. Thank you for giving me permission. How do I find my people? So I have connectedness, and so it's actually really hard for me to not have people. I look and I see a lot of strengths in folks, and I want them in my mental Rolodex so that I can make connections where magic happens. Right. So a lot of times I look at people and they may not be my people, but I know they're somebody's. And so then it's a matter of helping that person get connected. So a lot of times I say I say yes to coffee all the time, because I just don't know where that magic is. And I pursue magic. I probably made this decision pretty early in my life, if I'm honest, about 8th grade, when I had a 6-month stint in my small little school of just being the person who was going to be ostracized from the rest of my classmates. And I think at that moment, I was like, well, this doesn't feel good. And this isn't how anyone should feel. And so I'm not going to do this. So frankly, I don't know if I have as much skill building in this, other than I am incredibly intuitive. I listen for good and I make those connections. And if there's something that's not quite generative or magical in there, then I let that be, knowing that they'll find their connection.
You kind of let everybody in and then decide who should stay a little bit.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. It's certainly very inclusive. And for somebody like me, that would be more difficult. I think it's just in your wheelhouse to have all of that.
I'm insanely curious about people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love learning. And I think that's why I taught, right? Like I love meeting people where they are, learning where they want to go, and making the connections that will help them get there. Okay, I'm done talking. Tawanda, take it away.
Yes.
Brilliance, please.
All right.
So the question was, how do I find people? For me, at least, whenever I'm stuck with anything, it doesn't matter, professional or personal, whenever I'm stuck with something and I can't move, I speak up. Basically, I tell someone within my group of people that what's going on, right? Even if they're not the person that could help me. 9 times out of 10, they are able to make a connection with someone else that can get me unstuck, right? Even if that individual is not currently in my group of people that I network with. And then again, that's a new relative that I gain, right? So I just basically, I just open my mouth to people, right? And sometimes it's talking to 3 or 4 different people within my network about what's going on and what challenges I'm facing or what opportunities I'm facing as well, and looking for that advice or that second set of ears to kind of help guide that path. And it works for me. So a lot of times I do feel like people aren't able to move forward because they don't speak up. And like I said, even if the individuals in that group are not the right person to do that, majority of the time they know someone that can help you in that space. So I do just really speak up. And sometimes, like I said, it takes me having 2 or 3 conversations with my group of people to be able to help.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to guess everyone who has started their own business has run into people who were a little bit naysayers, right? I don't think this is the right time. I'm not sure this is the right business. Are you sure you want to do this? Should you leave your steady job? All of those things. So, Tawanda, how are you finding those people who are yes and people versus but no people? You know, the people who will say, yes, you can do this and you can do blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so I've heard, the don't do this, don't do that. And those conversations didn't last more than finishing the sentence, really. Because I have a habit of, if they're not able to help me move forward, the conversation is over, really. So I move on to people that I notice with similar ideas or thoughts, or even not necessarily similar. That's a little bit different, but out of the box, so to speak. So they understand where you're coming from. And that conversation can go a lot further and relationships build to be able to move you forward in your dream or goal that you have. So those that are naysayers, like I said, I just have a really, really good habit of shutting those conversations down, because it's not their goal. It's not their dream. It's not their passion. So, and because I see and understand that they're not willing to help me move minds forward, the conversation is really irrelevant.
Well, see, and that's really strong. I think people need to hear that, because
Yeah,
people
it is.
often will let that kind of bog them down and stop from moving.
Yeah, I mean, but you do it in a nice way, right? You do it in
Yeah.
a nice way, because sometimes people in your group or your network or family or friends, they're coming from a good space majority of the time, but a lot of times they don't understand that you're willing to take that risk. And I think just being supportive of the risk makes a lot of a difference besides shutting it all the way down.
Yeah, I would agree. So finding those people is important, I think.
Yeah.
How about you, Allie? What do you do when you are surrounding yourself with people and then you have somebody who's kind of the person who's doing the no and not really being supportive of what you want to do? I mean, we all need people who can say, hey, have you thought about this? And maybe it's not the right time or the right, place to be going. But that's different than saying, I'm not sure that you should be doing this at all. So how do you differentiate between that? So you hear the voices, but yet you surround yourself with people who will be proactively helping you.
Okay, I have a prime example for this. And this happened 8 years ago. So I used to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car when I first graduated from the University of Iowa. And I just really didn't like the job. And so both of my parents are realtors. And so one day I told my dad, I'm going to get my real estate license. And he said, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, I don't think you should do that full time. I love proving him wrong. Like, I don't know what happened, but I just was like, I'm going to do it. And I just showed up, and it's been a lot of fun. I think I've had a lot of success with it. So my dad, I think, is proud of me now, but he was just nervous. He wanted me to have stability. And, if people question you, sometimes it just kind of gives you more power to say, you know what, I am going to do this because I'm strong and this is what I want to do. And you just have to believe in yourself first. And that's how you're going to win.
Yeah. And you have to be strong enough to feel that I want to do this even when people say it's not a good idea. Yep. Or maybe not for you at this time. So, yep. Of course, with your dad, it's a little bit harder. He's definitely going to be in the picture. It's not like, so good to manage that well. But all right, Julie, I have a feeling I know what you say when people say no, but do tell.
Yeah, I my approach is very similar to Tawanda's. It's the conversation shifts at that point. And I think partly because I don't have time to convince somebody else, right? I don't have time. If I want this business to work, if I want this this career trajectory that I'm on to work, I need those realistic optimists in my life. And so that if I really am falling off the edge, I want to know that. And I'm hoping that nobody's screaming that at me while I'm falling, but instead like throwing me a rope, like I think there's a way that you can be a yes and you can still stand in that, right? And part of it is also the question that I usually will ask myself in that pause is, what are they afraid of? Because it's usually fear, right? Are they afraid for me? Are they afraid for them? What is it? And when I can identify that, then I have a better conversation to say, "Ooh, tell me more about that," right? Tell me more about why you're afraid. And if there's somebody who's in my network, then we can have those direct, pointed conversations because they know that both that person and I are coming from a place of love and a place of support. It's just that sometimes fear can be a big barrier. And sometimes I got to understand what they're afraid of. And is it really in my good nature? Am I really on the edge? Or is it a perception?
So I want to take this in a little bit different direction. I'm going to stay with you for a minute there, Julie. So we have all these people in our lives, and they're obviously speaking to us, hopefully from a place of love and caring. And the ones who aren't, we can figure out ways to kind of move them out. But how do you find those people practically? Like what circles allow for that? I mean, I heard Ally talk about chamber events, and so we're going to circle back to that one. But how do you get, I mean, it's not, if you're new to town, especially, how do you, or maybe you want to move into a new space, right? You're at that point in life. How do you then find a venue for having those conversations and meeting people?
Oh, that's like a really great question. I think part of it is finding your footing first. I mean, Ally, I think you put that really well, right? You walk into a new city and you're like, I'm looking for something else because everything is topsy-turvy, right? Like I'm in a new house, I'm in a new place. I lost my network, right? There's a certain amount of grieving, you know, even if the move was exciting, we have to be able to almost like reconcile the placement, like the physical placement that where I'm at, right? And so I think that you got to find your footing first, or you find yourself wasting time, right? I think so often we'll come into a new place and we're like, I'm going to go meet all the people so that I can find my people. And it's like, but who are you? Who are you in this new place? What is the culture of this place? What are the norms of this place? And I think that oftentimes we push past that, and then we find ourselves in positions where we're like, whoa, 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 whoa. So for example, when I first came out of education and I was in my first board meeting ever, and something was said in the room and eyes went, right? There's a pair of eyes over here that connected with a pair of eyes over here, connected a pair with the eyes over here. And I went, oh, something just happened. Something very important just happened. And that is an unwritten and a hidden rule. And if I don't find those, I'm going to step in it. And typically I step in it anyway, because I don't care. But it's nice when I'm stepping in it like intentionally versus unintentionally, right? Because if I have my footing, then I know what I'm going to do when I find myself in the crosshairs of those looks. So I'm going to squirrel back to your actual question and say, find you first. Fall in love with you and your idea. Be your high five in the morning. Be your champion. And then go and talk about that, right? And it can be at a chamber event, or it can be at a lean in circle, or it can be, you know, I don't know, at a coffee shop. Like one thing Minnesotans do really well is like strike up conversations with anyone. I don't do that. I'm very intentional about who I talk to. But start paying attention. Who do you want to know? And why do you want to know them? And it's gotta be reciprocal. It's gotta be reciprocal. So, you know, you can't go and extract from other people. You've got to bring something to the relationship. So I don't know if that answers your question, Christine. I haven't had enough coffee this morning.
I think it answers a lot of questions. So I'm kind of listening and thinking about it. And I guess I don't know. So it seems like when I moved to Minnesota, and my experience might have been different than others, I had a little bit of a false start in the sense that it seemed like everybody was very friendly and willing to talk, but it was superficial. It was like nobody really had room for more friends. They have their family and friends and their network here. So they're willing to chat, but not to like become, you know, mentors or good friends. And it took a while for me to figure out that takes a really long time here. And you have to kind of find those venues where that can happen. And I think it almost felt a little bit like Braille, like, okay, so how do I find those venues? You know, how do I really get to that place? So I think you're right. You know, what you said is true. I think it's, you have to know who you are and what you want to be in this place. You know, and then you get to find a few of those venues. So, Wanda, where do you go to find?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I do want to echo a lot of what Julie said, especially with knowing who you are first. So I think back to when I first came to Rochester. For me, you know, being a Black woman, it was a little bit more challenging, right? Because coming to this small community, it was like, okay, first, are there any other Blacks here? Where are they? How can I find them? You know, where's the churches? Where's, you know, all of these other organizations to connect with? So first I had to find who I am in this new city as a Black woman, and then find other connections with other Black people. So it was that extra challenge that I had to, that was in the midst of it. But where I am today, to find new like-minded individuals, I'm fortunate to reach out to colleagues, resource groups, and the current networks that I have too. I don't do, you know, like examples of, you know, I'm a mom of 5. Are there any other groups out here that has a lot of kids? You know, I don't do all of that because most of the people that I know have children. So we just have that natural connection. But again, I think for me, to add on to my group of people or family members, it's just really talking to people, from the various board members to my colleagues, cohort members, especially my school cohort members. They're so resourceful. You know, we all have our different paths in life, and we know what each other is trying to do. And again, that recommendation is always there. So it's just a matter of going to, not just necessarily going to places that you're familiar with. So for example, you know, like I said, when I first got here, one of my first things is find the Black churches here in town, if they exist, right? Just to know where other Blacks congregate. But it was also making those connections with my colleagues at work. And it's not just about the professional life, but what's happening outside of work. Are you also an entrepreneur? Where do you go to network? What events should I attend? So it's having those conversations as well.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, you clearly have, you were able to succeed in finding that Black community. And for someone else, it might, like for me, when I got here, I felt like, who understands people who have been in the military, right? So there aren't a lot of veterans here in town, and certainly not women. And so when you feel like a big part of your identity is not really understood well by the people you're meeting, it's hard sometimes. So, you know, so that's one facet. And then I think, you know, as you like casually mentioned the 5 children, I'm always overwhelmed by that. I'm like, how do you do all the rest of it and then have 5 kids?
I know. I think I need to change that term and say 2 adult children and 3, you know, I don't know how to say it. Doesn't seem like I have 5 kids running around the house, but.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Your bigs and littles is that kind of, but that's still an awful lot going on, because just because they're big doesn't mean they don't need you.
True.
But, okay, well, thank you. All right, Allie, so where do you go? You mentioned Refine. How did you end up kind of deciding these are the groups where I'm finding myself encouraged?
Yeah, so I love that Julie and Twanda have been talking about, you know, finding your footings, figure out who you are first. And then as you were asking them the questions, I was really thinking about it more. And what is really important for me is to keep evolving and growing and getting better every day. So when I've been looking for my connections and my close friends and business partners, I'm looking for people that I think are excelling at a higher level than me. And so I'm always looking for those successful people to kind of learn from them and really dig into what groups are they in. So yeah, so my initial connection actually started from a group that isn't in existence anymore. And I met, the first person I remember meeting in Rochester was Brittany Baker and Alicia Goodson. And then just nice girls. And then I started going to the chamber events, and then someone said, Refine. And then it just, initially we already talked about it too, is like just going back and having coffee dates, because, you know, you'll go to these networking events and you'll talk to people for a couple minutes and you'll exchange business cards, but it's like, what do you know about their background? What do you know about their story? What are they looking forward to? Like, what's their direction in life? And so when you meet the people at the networking events, it's taking that additional step and going and actually building that relationship. And that's really where you're going to thrive. So I can tell you lots of groups to be a part of, but at the end of the day, it's what you do with who you meet at those events that's really going to propel you to the next level in Rochester. Or
Yeah.
even as a person, propel
Right.
you as a person.
So we have all these different facets of our life too, right? And we've touched on some of those, like you're a mom and you're a realtor and you're an entrepreneur. And so do you find that you have different circles that you surround yourself with? Are they interconnected?
So in Rochester, I would say that my girls are all pretty interconnected because they all know each other. But then that's been fun because now that I've had all those coffee dates years ago before COVID, then now it's really nice because like Heather Donovan will be like, oh, you need to meet this person and this person. So then it's like once people really get to know you, then the connections kind of just keep going because people are like, oh, you need to meet Julie, you need to meet Twanda. Like it's an amazing ripple effect.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. It is. And it does seem like, that whole Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation in Rochester, it's maybe 2.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's connected on some level, it sure feels like. But okay, Julie, I know I can count on you for hard truths. So give us maybe a strategy or two on how, we talked about sometimes when somebody needs more from you than you can give. So you just need to you want to help them, but there's boundaries there to establish when you're finding people that you can really spend your time with. So give us an idea of how you set that boundary when you do say, okay, that person's not.
Yeah, with mutual respect and guard and trust, right? Like we can respectfully be members and residents within Rochester, and I can guard my trust, right? I can hold what is true to me. So for example, I had met with a gentleman. This is when I was a workforce strategist, and I met with a gentleman who asked me to meet under a premise of, I want to know more about what you do. And the meeting turned into a sales pitch for what his new business was. And then he wanted me to extract my network for him. And I was like, no, I won't. That's not okay. And so that coffee date was scheduled for an hour and it ended up being about 20 minutes. And I respectfully said, I understand where you are. This is a hard place to be when you're trying to establish your clientele from the very beginning. I am more than happy in my professional world to connect you with the other workforce strategists with that. And he kept pressing me for people out of my personal network and my professional network, and he didn't take my no. And I'm a big stickler. Like, if you don't respect my no, you're done. Because I am a yes and up until I'm not. And so at that point, I said, I think I've given you what I can. I'm not sure if there's anything else that you want to talk about, but I need to get on with my day. So see ya. And I haven't heard from him since. Shocking. But I wish him well, right? And I would never throw this person under the bus if somebody brought this name up somewhere else. Like, I'm not interested in that. It's just that he was asking for something that was clearly a step over my boundary, and kept pushing it. And I was like, no. So ladies, learn your no. High five in the morning and a big fat no, just practice it every day.
My niece calls them free high fives. She gives them out. But so, all right, Tawanda, how do you handle it when you have someone you have a professional relationship with, or they're in a group with you and they're no longer a good fit for you? They need more support than you can provide, perhaps.
Yeah. So again, if I go back to when I first started, when I mentioned that my people are kind of like family, right? And, you always have that one family member who is just whatever. So that's how I deal with them, right? Just politely, hi, if there's a hug involved or whatever. But I just keep it at that. I keep it at that. So when that relationship is not where I want it to be, I think people tend to get that vibe. I don't necessarily say that. So Julie, I need to take that advice and just do it. But I think people kind of get that vibe based off of my persona or the way we conversate. But I kind of treat them like that distant relative who's just always negative about something or whatever. So I kind of proceed with that. However, I am kind of good at people, referring them to someone else where I know that connection would work, because some people just make better connections with others than they do with me. And I understand that. But when that relationship is over and there's no growth or no opportunity or no benefits, and it's stressful, I don't necessarily say my no out loud. I give them that vibe. And I think they catch on to what that vibe is. So yeah, that's how I do it. And I'm good with, oh, go talk to so-and-so and so-and-so. And I do let the other person know ahead of time, hey, this person may be coming to you for XYZ, and give them a heads up about our relationship, and why it's not working, or why do I think that that's a good fit for them and not necessarily me. And that
I like
helps
that.
me.
So you also, when it's not working, you try and find them someone that it might work.
Yeah,
for.
I do.
Yeah.
Because like I said, our vibes couldn't work, but I just treat them like a distance relative.
Yeah. Okay. I like
Say
that.
that term, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean there. All right, Allie. So how are you? And I would imagine as a realtor, you may at times have clients who are, suck the life out of you. That just don't know what they want in a house. And I mean, I watch TV shows and I'm like, oh my gosh, these people, they say they know what they want, and then they're like totally on divergent courses. But that might be on the professional realm, but then on the personal realm as well. But just somebody that you're in a group with and you realize that's not a good fit anymore. How are you going about figuring out, you need more or you need something different than I can provide?
Yeah, so I really resonate with this for two reasons. So to kind of go back to where do I find my people, I'm always looking for people that are growing and doing better and thriving. So then I've been ghosted a lot. This is so bizarre, not by clients, by like professionals that just like, I don't know if, I wasn't a good fit for them, but that happened to me twice in the past 2 years, that I was working with two professionals and they just like stopped responding to me. And it was bizarre because I'm like, if you didn't want to work with me, you could have just said like, hey, this isn't a good fit. But this wasn't like a client thing. This was like, asking a vendor to do something for me. So with that being said, I'm always looking at getting better in my business, but then I'm also like, your business is your persona and how you put yourself out there. And so if someone is ghosting me, I'm like, well, I don't want to work with someone that doesn't respect me to even say like, hey, I don't think this is a good fit anymore. And so just realizing like, my business is growing. I need people who are moving forward in their business as well. And so if that's how they are treating me, that's how they're treating other clients. And those aren't the people that I are growing. They're kind of stopping themselves. So it's time to move on. So I did have a partner that I was working with a few years ago. And, I just felt like we just had a disconnect at some point. I was asking for something and they just weren't like, I'm very specific as to like what I put out on social media or, like the pictures that I post or just like how I'm treating clients. And so when this vendor wasn't a good fit with me anymore, it wasn't hurtful. I just said, I don't think this is going to work anymore. I'm going to go a different direction. And that's okay, because at all times we're all growing. And if your business is not moving forward, you need to really look at who is around you that you can say, maybe this person isn't a good connection for my business anymore. And that's okay. It's okay.
So I want to touch on something you said. You mentioned it twice now. Surrounding yourself with people who are smart or successful, so you can learn from them. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. So I think there's a natural tendency for people to say, you know, you have done something that I think is quite remarkable in one way or another, professionally or personally. And so I kind of want to learn from you. So how do you create that balance between learning from others and then mentoring others? So how are you finding that sweet spot? Or are you?
So success is not a secret. There are successful people all around you. And if they're good people, they share the tools that got them there. And if they're not sharing with you, you don't want to be around that person. So with that is like if a new agent comes into town and they're like, hey, what did you do? I tell them. I'm like, hey, this is what worked for me. Try it. But I'm not trying to hide anything from how to be successful in Rochester. I think, you know, we all share the tools of our success. And so I think that's, I don't know, just really powerful to continue to share the secrets because they're not secrets. And you know what? I was really bummed when Kathleen left the chamber because she's one of my favorite people on the face of the earth. And I'm like, she needs to mentor like all of us as to how to become like weed through all these bad things. And so it's like those people who have these track records, you need to go seek them out because you know what? They're not hiding anything in their pockets either. They're going to share because there's something that they figured out that works for them. So
Yeah.
just keep talking, you'll find your solution.
Right. Yeah, no, that is absolutely true. I think that there are so many brilliant minds out there and they are willing to share, finding those ways to do that well and then give back, I think, whether we call it mentorship or we call it something else, paying it forward or you know, sharing the secrets. So I think, yes, I think you're right about that. All right, so Julie, I would like to know, how are you finding those people that you're going to mentor and those people who are going to mentor you?
Oh, that's such a great question. Well, I think first, I don't make it a secret that I hate hidden rule books. I hate them with a passion. And so people know that if they want to know what's really going on, I'm happy to tell them. So I'm an open book. I always have been, probably sometimes to the fault where I get feedback that says I'm intimidating, and I don't mean to be. I just believe that, to Allie's point, there's no rule that shouldn't be out in the open. And if it's not out in the open, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch it. And I don't want to set people up to have to go through what I potentially went through. So I find that in my conversations with people, it is very, it's very reciprocal. I learn something from somebody every single day. And I would hope that if they're asking the question, I'm giving the answer, that maybe they're getting something out of my answers, right? I haven't answered your question, Christine, because I don't have a good answer. I don't know.
Well, okay.
I don't know.
While we're going to talk about this and think about this, and I'm going to hit Tawanda up as well on this, I have a suggestion. Since we're talking about finding people and connecting with people, if you're here today, why don't you, and you're willing or interested, why don't you throw your name and maybe your email or something like that in the chat. And then once everybody's kind of done that, before you leave today, you can hit those little 3 buttons at the bottom and save the chat. And you would have a whole connection list of people that you might want to reach out to. So maybe in addition to your name, it's also what you do or your business or you know, that kind of a thing. So I would offer that up to you guys if you want to do that while we're continuing to talk. And then you can share that as a resource or not. Okay. So Tawanda,
Yeah.
tell us
So
finding your mentors and the people you're going to mentor?
Yeah. So, Allie, I agree with you that success is not a secret. However, I do believe that there is this hidden secret network, right, of successful people that for many, it's hard to find them.
Mhm.
So when I navigated in my entrepreneurship journey, I had to kind of dig deep and find who they are, right? And how to make that connection first as well. But once I started to make my connection with those that I wanted to connect with, at least for my now, I've done that and also continue to meet people. Those that I mentor, I get people just randomly call me, either being referred from someone else in my networks, or they heard about what I do, or my experience. So people just really call like, hey, they specifically tell me, I need you to help me with XYZ, or or recommend. So people really just call. I formally and informally mentor through several organizations as well. And what I look for in my mentees is just them being authentic and their goals being exactly what they want, right? So a lot of my mentees, I kind of stop them in their tracks when my mom think I should do this, or my dad think I should do that, and it's always, we back up a little bit. What do you want to do? So I'm very curious to know who they are and not what others ideas that they have for them. So we kind of go through that first. But so in my mentees, I look just for them to be authentic and being able to help them on whatever journey that they have to be successful. And what I look for, every mentor have a mentor themselves or a coach. So what I look for in my mentors or coaches is that they're honest with me, just be brutal honest. And unfortunately, I think I'm one of those honest people to that. Sometimes I have to think about the delivery and what I'm saying. I mean good intentions, but sometimes it doesn't come out good. So I always have that disclosure, like I mean well by what I'm saying, but the delivery is not always received that way. So I'm working on that. But so for my mentors, I look for them to be just honest with me, right? If I need to knock it off, let me know that. If I need to settle down, let me know that. If I need to ramp things up, let me know that. So I do look for people that are smarter than me, right? And I don't necessarily base that off education. I base that off experience. So, I can't have someone coaching me to, run $1 million company and they haven't made $1 million. It just doesn't make sense, right? So I look for individuals that, that has that experience as well as that education.
Oh, that makes sense. So, all right, and go ahead and throw your stuff in the chat there, Tawanda. So Allie, you have given us some ideas around how you made a network when you came here, and I'm tapping into you for some of this because I know that sometimes the networks we've created are not the same ones we'll need in supporting an entrepreneurial journey. They may be the ones we need as parents or as women, but maybe not for our entrepreneurial journey. So if someone is starting a business and looking to find a mentor, you said there's lots of people out there that are willing to help. So, I mean, I could say the first step would be to find other people in your field of work to be a mentor to you. But do you find that your best mentors are other realtors, or are they outside of that? Tell us a little bit about that.
I think coaching is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think partnering with other people in your industry outside of your community is very powerful, which is why social media is amazing. But, the greatest masterminds in our world of history of success, they had people that were accountability partners, and they might have been from different industries, and they got together once a week or once every other week. So, my greatest connections are not other realtors. They are local business owners, but then I also have a real estate coach, and then I have a mastermind group that meets every Friday morning. That's other realtors from across the United States. So I think that it's powerful to look at your industry, but then also look at what's going on across the United States, not just in our community.
Good idea. I like that. Really, any final thoughts on you just starting a business? So like that's a different thing now for you, right? So how will that change who you are looking for as your people, or will it?
It won't. I think what I've learned is that people, I mean, we show our true colors, right? Eventually. And so I like to be open. I like to be curious. I like to be clear as to what I'm looking for in this coffee date or in this conversation. But usually coffee dates for me is like, I just want to know, I want to know your story, Morning Glory. Tell me more about you. I just want to know. And so that I can be a good partner, or I can be a good referral person, or I can be a cheerleader, like I can be the right relationship that you're looking for. And I have trusted folks in my network who are like my go-tos. They are my people who are like, am I nuts? Am I not nuts? Like, what's really going on? And I have folks who I meet with, and we meet quarterly just so that we can catch up and that we can like be awesome for each other, right? And so I think as a business owner, we laugh all the time because if you're going to coach with me, I'm a disruptor, friends. Like, I don't know how to be any other way. So if you're coming to me for coaching, you need to know what you're going to get. You're going to get Julie Brock, right? And if you're not ready for me, I'm not your person. So the best way I can put an analogy for this is like massage. I have a friend who is like kitten paw massage. She just wants a massage that like they rub oil in her back. And I want a sports massage. I trail run. I need somebody to get their elbow into my butt. Like that's where my knots are. That's who I need. And so I think it goes back to knowing who you are and what you offer as a business and being very true to that, because I cannot be kitten paws. If you're looking for kitten paws, don't come to me.
Very cute.
Does that answer your question?
It does. And in a true Julie Brock kind of way.
I know.
I want to thank you ladies for the time you took today to share with people. I really do appreciate that. For those of you that don't know, everybody who comes here does it out of the kindness of their heart. We don't pay them. And so we really appreciate it. That's one of the reasons we're able to offer this for free for everybody. So at the bottom of your screen, there is 3 little dots and it says save chat is an option. So I want to remind you of that. If you're interested in saving the chat and creating a way to find your people, that is good. Ellie, did you have something?
Just really quick,
Yes.
to each one of the ladies on here, I just want to say you are the queen of your world. No one else is in charge of it. So wear your crown high and proud.
Oh, I love it. Yes. All right. Well, thank you all for coming today. Really appreciate it. And I'm grateful for the time you took to be here. I'm grateful for the people who came and shared their knowledge with us. And I really hope you join us next month for our workshop. It'll be, just kind of an opportunity to gather together, hopefully in person, and work on some of our ideas. So, and stay tuned for more on the connect part, because that's more of like a happy hour social. So that's kind of fun too, whole different part of the day. So thanks, ladies. Bye-bye.
That was really neat.